just lay here? Would you lie with me and just forget the world? You may think that I'm talking foolish, light up the dark. Try as I may, I could never explain what I hear when you don't say a thing. The smile on your face lets me know that you need me. There's a truth in your eyes
Yeah, you're
right there already.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, I'll stay over here and keep this side and you can handle that side.
And when I'm done, I'll just quickly pull it off in case you want to give me a
Well, I like to move, but
I'll move it over.
they got me here. I wonder if I could use that one, because then I can kind of move it a little bit. I'll have to ask him.
You want me? I'll mention it to
He's
Bruce.
coming up, we'll ask him. I mean, I can stand still if I have to. But I didn't want to.
I've been sitting here staring at the clock on the wall. And I've been laying here praying.
Good afternoon. I'm sad to be the one that has to officiate. This is a very difficult day for all of you. And as we come together to share and to talk, I would just ask that you would be thinking a little bit forward. In the funerals that I officiate, I really enjoy it if the congregation thinks about being a part of the service and sharing a story or an account of something that happened between you and Jennie, so that the rest of the people in the room can see a part of her life that maybe they have never seen before. We are collectively connected to her in one way or another. And this is one of those times where we have an opportunity to share in the process of grieving. And so just be thinking about that as the funeral service moves forward. We get down to that eulogy section. We're going to open the microphone up so that you'll have an opportunity to come up and share something that was important to you and with the family so that they can experience that with you. Having said that, I'd like to open us with a word of prayer, and then we will move into the ceremony. Heavenly Father God, as we take this time to pause and to reflect not only on our lives, but also our relationships. And we think of what Jennie means to us. Lord, we just ask, God, that as we move through this time of celebration, this time of sharing of memories, God, that you would be a part of this. You would guide our thoughts and share in this time of grieving. I ask your comfort on the family, Lord, as they are moving through this horrible process of grief. Lord, we just ask your presence here in this building today. Amen. Mike?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mike Lee. I am one of the cousins. And I was asked on behalf of Lila and Kelly to sing this song. It's called If Heaven Wasn't So Far Away. And the purpose of the song is to really ask us, what would we say, what would we do if we could go back and do it all over again and see that person?
Family has asked that I would read the 23rd Psalm. If you feel comfortable and want to say it with me, we sure can do that. I'm going to go at a pace that I hopefully won't leave you too far behind. The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
We were blessed at the hospital on Thursday with a very exceptional nurse. And she gave the girls this poem. She just lost her father, and they wanted me to share it. Forever in your heart. Feel no guilt and laughter. She knows how much you care. Feel no sorrow and a smile that she's no longer here to share. You cannot grieve forever. She would not want you to. She'd hope that you would carry on the way you always do. So talk about the good times and the way she showed you that she cared, the days you spent together, all the happiness that you shared. So we hope that anybody that has a happy, good story will come up and share it. I'm going to share first. So I shared this a little while ago with my bonus mom. I just bought a new house, and my sister came over and was helping me put new doorknobs on the house. I had 900 keys, and they all opened a different door, and I just wanted one. So she came over, and we were putting the doorknobs on, and they were a little too short, so they left a gap where the hole for the doorknob goes about that far. And we were like, I'm like, I'm not buying new doors, so we're gonna have to rethink this. And she's like, I'll just have my husband make you a plate, and we'll put it over it, and be all good. So the second doorknob, mind you, there's deadbolt and the regular doorknob. The second one we were putting on, we put in upside down, so we had to take it back out. And while we were taking it out, I happened to look at it, and I said, Jennie, there's 2 sizes written on this barrel, so I think that it gets longer. So we figured it out, and we were able to extend it, and it covered the hole, but then we had to go back to the other door and completely take it out and put the doorknob on right. And I said to her then, I'm like, whatever you do, never tell your husband.
Hi, everyone. For those that don't remember me or don't recognize me, my name is April Milks. I was Jennie's lifetime friend. We've been together since the 5th grade. I apologize, I'm probably going to have to read from my phone a little bit. We met in the 5th grade when her family first moved to Lodi. I lived on Ludlow Road, her on Lodi, so we were 3 miles apart. And if we could find trouble, we found it. If it was riding our bikes to East Lake to go swimming, or me just sneaking over to Pat and Ed's to hang out and even go see Eddie when him and I had a little crush on each other in 6th grade. You name it, I was there. They were my family. They're still my family. 55 years later, here I am. And they still call me family. Their daughters call me aunt. I couldn't be more blessed to have them. Jenny's family was always my second home. They always treated me as family. Jenny and I were pretty much inseparable growing up. We always tried to schedule the same classes in school together. We both enjoyed band, and we even won second place at solo ensemble with my clarinet and her French horn. It was. It was. Jenny continued to love her band through her daughters, who as well did solo ensemble and marching band. She also was very proud of her daughters and all their accomplishments. Jenny and I did lose touch for many years. After all, there wasn't the internet back when I was young. I did move to Wyoming, Nebraska. She did move to Florida. We did reconnect in the late 1990s, early 2000s, and our friendship reignited like it had never missed a day. We would have meals together, Thanksgiving, Christmas. We enjoyed kayaking down the Manistee, and we became family all over again. Jenny's husbands and daughters were her world. She loved being a wife and a mother and supporting them in their school functions, education, work, or just being for a shoulder to cry on if they needed it. She was always there for them. She was their mold, their rock. She was so proud of their accomplishments, their goals, graduation of high school, CNA, now moving on into nursing school, and so much more. Kevin, she was so happy when you no longer drove over the road and was able to come close to home and be with her. I am a traveler, an adventurer, love to see the world. Jenny would always say to me, I hate to see you go. I wished you would stay. But I love you, and I wish you the best, because you have a soul of a gypsy, the heart of a hippie, and the spirit of a mermaid. Go on to your next adventure, my friend, but remember, you're always my friend, and I will be there for you if you need me. Kevin, Leela, Kelly, and the rest of the family, I would like you to know that Jenny may no longer be here physically for you, but she will always be with you through her love, memories, her spirit. She will always be looking over you and protecting you, and she will forever be in your hearts. And anytime you see a cardinal, remember, it's her looking at you. Love you guys.
Jenny and I met probably well over 30 years ago, because my daughter's 31 and Jenny helped me raise her. So Jenny's the reason I have the last name Shimshak, and she's the reason I live in Michigan. And I owe a lot to her. She helped me a lot. And my first fond memory of her was when we came to Michigan the first time, and I said, we're just too close to Canada. You're taking me to Canada. I live in Florida. I want to go to Canada. So Kathy and Jenny and I got in the car, and I kept seeing these billboards for the 500 locks. I didn't know what locks were. We don't have locks in Florida. I'm like, what are these 500 locks? And they're like, it's Sioux locks, you ding-dong, not 500. Well, they need to make their S's and their 5s more clear, because I thought every billboard for 100 miles said 500 locks. So we decided that day that we were going all the way to the 500 locks, and they were going to explain how they work to me. And to this day, I still call them the 500 locks. And we used to always get teased that we shopped together all the time. And I said, we're going into Canada, aren't we? No, we're not going into Canada. We're right there. There's like a big international mall. There's a sign. How are we going to find that? We don't know where anything is in Canada. Darn if we didn't go right through that border. And I went, take a right up here. I've been to Canada. She's like, okay. So she took a right. Where is it now? I said, I don't know. Take a left and we'll go up there a little bit. And sure enough, there was the mall. She's like, I don't know how you just did that, but that was. I said, I can sniff out a mall a mile away or in another country. But second favorite, oh, I put that one too far back. The tornado, I was gonna say, being in the hospital when Layla was born, right all the way into the operating room, but she had her C-section. She's like, your Kevin's like, yeah, please come. I don't want to go by myself. If she wants you, let's do this. So I will never forget that day. She's very special to me, and I'm blessed that you guys all still allow me to call you family.
Be a little tough facing y'all, but Jennie was always a protector to me. Many years ago, I was probably 8, maybe 9, I don't know. We were going down to the hill sledding next to the house by the guardrails, and I see this semi coming down the road, and it's not on the road, it's on the shoulder, and I'm on the wrong side of the guardrails. Jennie's there, and all I do is jump. She grabs me and she pulls me over the guardrails. I know I'm here because of her. A couple of years later, I watched the movie Children of the Corn. Anybody's ever seen that movie? When you're 10 years old, it's pretty intimidating. It's probably the only movie I've ever watched that has given me a nightmare. And weird nightmares, elephants, all kinds of different things. And oh, hi. She was coming to help. I woke up in the middle of the night because of this nightmare. I was crying and screaming, and Jennie came into the room, and all she did was hold me. Over the years, we've grown apart, but I've always looked at her as being a protector. When we got the phone call, it was a horrible day in my life. It makes you appreciate your family more. Your daughter, your wife, your sisters, your brothers. It makes you realize how short life is and how much you need each other. So to all my brothers and sisters, I love you always. No matter where you're at in your life, I'm there for you. Just call. I'm on Facebook. You guys know how to spell my last name. So, Kevin, you're a wonderful man. You made my sister happy, and that's all anybody can ask for. And thank you for being there for her. And I know she loved you. Girls, the last conversation I had with your mother was how proud of she was of you guys and what you've done and what you've accomplished. Just know that she was always proud of you and happy with the ladies that you've become.
Not really good at talking in public. Me and Jennie became friends 23 years ago when I moved up here. And I remember Kelly with all those little curls popping up over that, looking at me. She was with her mama, and cap. Her mouth never stopped. She was the sweetest thing I had ever seen in my life. And at that moment, our friendship began. And it came and it went through the years. But the one thing that was so good about Jennie was she accepted me no matter what, at my worst, at my best, and when I was in tears. She was always there for me. And a lot of you don't know me, but I'm Mama Kay, and she's Mama J, and I will be forever. And I'll be there for her girls, like she's been there for so many years with my children. We watched our daughters graduate together. I could have never seen a mother so proud as she was, as she saw her daughters go down those aisles, and we held each other's hands, and we held each other up, and that's what made Jennie so incredible, was her strength, her endurance, and her love and dedication to her family. And I am truly blessed to have all of you in my life. I love you guys.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eugene Chimshak's wife. I've been in the family for a little while. I have a couple of memories I wanted to share with the girls. My first memory was when me and Eugene got married. Jennie decided that she was going to throw a bachelorette party. We're not going to go into details on that. If any of you know Jennie, it can get a little wild. But the day that we married, it was very special for us. Leela was attached to my hip with her little blonde curls. She wanted to be a part of it. Jennie was there. Unfortunately, I wasn't speaking to my parents at the time. So Jennie was there, and Kathy helped me getting dressed, and my sister walked me down the aisle, and the whole time Leela's in the sitting there screaming, "I want my auntie, I want my auntie." I remember Jennie holding this little booger, screaming, yelling, kicking, and she's trying to run in and out because we had an outside wedding. And Leila was trying to run into the little chapel because we were signing our names. And, "No, let me go, I want my auntie." And Jennie's like, "Oh my gosh, this girl's gonna kill me, I swear." And then when Kelly was born, me and Jennie were pregnant at the same time with my oldest son, Caleb. And Kelly and Caleb were inseparable when they were younger. We spent a lot of time together. And we had gone over to Jennie and Kevin's house, and the kids were in the room playing. And Caleb came out, and he was crying. And he was telling on Kelly. He told Jennie, "And Jennie, Kelly punched me." And Jennie said, "Well, go hit her." And I'm like, "Jennie, what are you doing? You can't tell my son to hit a girl. That's not okay." "Well, she's got to learn." I'm like, "Not with my son." But he did what his Aunt Jennie said, and he went in there and he punched her. And then here comes Kelly. She's bawling her eyes out. "Caleb just hit me." I'm like, "Oh, go hit him." I'm like, this is a really vicious cycle here. I think we sat there for like 5 minutes. Kelly came out with a big old fat lip. Caleb had a bloody nose. I'm like, okay, we've got to stop this because these kids are going to keep going. But Jennie was like, "Well, I've got to teach her." I'm like, "Yeah, well, not now, not with my kid." I really don't want this to happen. But Jennie had a huge heart. And anybody that knows her knows that she was a huge part of the community. She loved her kids. Every mom loves their children. Jennie took it to a whole nother level. She made sure that those girls didn't want for anything. They knew they were loved. And, through the years, me and Eugene have talked about Jennie and Kevin's marriage. I'm like, I don't know that I could be away from my husband that long, but they were able to do it. And She loved Kevin with every ounce of her body, and she loved her girls. They were her world. Everybody knows that she was born to do it, and she will be truly missed.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie. My first very memory of my Aunt Jenny was when we were just about to move to Michigan. I got a phone call from Aunt Jenny asking if I wanted to be into marching band. And I was so excited. That was my one favorite thing to do, was to play my clarinet and just be with family. And then Kelly got a hold of me and sent me all of the music, and I practiced for weeks and weeks and weeks. Unfortunately, I did miss Trout Fest, so I couldn't go. And went to band camp. Best week of my life. And Jenny made sure I was fed, and Kelly made sure I had so much fun. Yep, we took selfies, did makeup every night, did our hair. We went to East Lake. It was me, Kelly, pretty sure Leela was there, Caleb was there, and Aunt Jenny, and we all went swimming past curfew. And oh yeah, it was beautiful. And it was great memories. And then Aunt Jenny taught me how to make popcorn balls. We'll never do it again. Too messy. Pretty sure I got a little bit of the corn syrup in my hair. Couldn't get it out. Then I tried to make it for my father. I burnt it. I won't try again. I'll probably burn it more. But Aunt Jenny did help us a lot when we first moved here. Made sure that we had a house ready for us, and she kept looking and looking and looking. She made sure we had a storage unit because we had way too much stuff. Aunt Jenny made sure that everyone was taken care of in the family, no matter who you were, even if you were a stranger on the street. She made sure that you were taken care of and you had a good home. And she, for sure, is going to be missed. And she is very loved by everyone. And we all are going to miss her.
I don't speak very well in public, but I have one quick thing to say. I'm her cousin, Jennie, and the last time I seen her, I told her I liked the shirt she was wearing. She took it off and gave it to me. Remember that? Loved her, dear.
FaceTime. She's devastated that she can't be here today, so I don't know if you guys can hear her, but I'm gonna try and have my volume as loud as I can so you guys can, go ahead, Jess.
Can you guys hear me?
Ooh, yes, loud and clear.
Great. First of all, I'm really sorry I'm not there. Trying to keep everybody safe and not travel across the country, so I'm sorry that I'm not there to hug you. And Jennie was my godmother and my aunt and my second mom. And she helped raise me. She always told everybody that Leela was her firstborn daughter, but I was her first daughter. Not to diminish the love she had for you guys, because she loved you more than anything. I feel like I should have a better memory to share, but there's just so many that I just keep thinking of random things. Trips to the lake in Kalkaska. I remember her telling me that the reason the lake was warm is because everybody pees in it, so I should stay warm.
It's like, keep your mouth closed. There's a reason it's so warm.
I also remember the 500 locks. I remember my very first time ever in Michigan going sledding with her and Uncle Eric and Mom in the middle of the night, and Mom hitting a bump so big that she thought she broke her tailbone. Like, this is terrible. Why did we move here to this disgusting cold state? And Aunt Jennie just hugging her and saying, "It's okay. I don't think your butt's broken."
You could have picked a better story.
I'm sorry. They tried to get Mom to go to the emergency room, but Mom was wearing long underwear, so she wouldn't go.
Because I just moved here and they were too big and I had them on outside. I had underwear on outside of them to keep them up. And Uncle Larry laughed so hard at me that night. Uncle Larry, I've never heard that man laugh so hard. He cried. That's a good memory.
We all did. Every time I hear Bob Seger's Old Time Rock and Roll, that was our song, and I go dance and think of her. And I will continue to do that just on my oldest.
Good.
I just thank you for letting me, hopefully this worked out okay. I wish I could give you guys, love you. I wish I could give you guys a big hug. And girls and Kevin, I'm so sorry for you. She loves you all so much.
Hi, my name is Laura. I graduated with Leela and was close to Kelly. I have a lot of memories when it comes to Jennie, but the one that we always joked about the most was when I was younger. She used to watch me for my mom. And I was supposed to be laying down for a nap, and I wouldn't do it for Jennie. I kept playing and playing and playing. I was just to the point where Jennie wanted to rip her hair out. But we always joked about how much of a troublemaker I was back then. As Leela's shaking her head. But, I mean, I have a lot of memories. I don't remember a day that I wasn't over at her house when me and Leela were in school. Our talks that we had while I was waiting for Leela to wake up were just awesome. She was my Mama J. She always will be.
want to thank you for the memories. This family ought to do a stand-up routine. Goodness. You're just naturally funny. It's just, you need to work at it. It's great. As I was telling the family yesterday, some of them, I can't remember where I was telling it, but I normally don't spend a lot of time talking about the person who's passed, in this case, Jennie, because that's your memories. I mean, I have some, and I can add to the mix, but my job is to kind of put the end or the bow on the process here and kind of move towards the future. And so I normally, at this time, I'll read the obituary, which is what was posted that many of you have seen. And then I'm just going to speak to you for a few moments about moving forward. And it won't take very long. I mean, I get long-winded on Sunday, but not usually on Tuesday. So I'm going to begin by reading the obituary. If you have more stories to share, there'll be a time for that later on today. I don't want to squelch that, but I also know that we have to kind of be good with our time. So I'm going to turn the corner here. I'm not going to intentionally mispronounce anybody's name. I think I can get the Shimshak right, but I don't know about the rest, but we'll work it. Jennie D. Borgen, 55, of Kalkaska, passed away suddenly on June 18th, 2020 in Traverse City. She was born on January 3rd, 1965 to Edward and Patricia Shimshak of Saline, Michigan. Jennie was a graduate of Forest Area High School and a longtime resident of Kalkaska. She cherished spending time with her family and friends, especially camping and kayaking down the Manistee River. Jennie was a gifted artist and enjoyed watercolors and vinyl graphics. She was a strong, compassionate woman with a wonderful mother and a role model for her girls. She always lent a helping hand to those who needed it, and Jennie will be lovingly remembered by her husband of 26 years, Kevin Borgen, daughters Leela A. Borgen and Kelly A. Borgen, her dog Ayers, and her grandpuppy Sophie. Mother Pat Shimshak, siblings, Edward and Debbie Shimshak, Paul and Rachel Shimshak, Eugene and Teresa Shimshak, Kathy Shimshak, Eric and Jennifer Shimshak, many nieces, nephews, great-nieces and nephews. Jennie was preceded in death by her father Edward, her mother-in-law Carol, and a nephew Brian. It's always a difficult concept to sum up a life, and you guys have done a wonderful job sharing stories and talking. And I know it's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I get it. We don't live on the face of this earth as long as Jennie did without making serious friends and impacting lives. Having said that, I'm going to turn to the book of Micah, and there's just a passage there that I've been kind of meditating on since a couple of days ago when I heard, and I'm going to read it to you and spend a few minutes just kind of moving this thing forward, and then we'll see what happens on the back end of it. Micah chapter 6, verse 8, and it reads, "And he has shown you, O man, what is good. What does the Lord require of you? To do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." You know, it always is in these times when death comes, especially unexpectedly, that we begin to kind of reflect and spend some time thinking about not just the life we have, in this case with Jennie, but also what does this mean going forward? What do we do now? You know, what's left? How does it go on? I mean, I can stand here and give you 20 questions, 30 questions. There's a great soul searching that happens anytime death kind of invades our ranks, so to speak. And it's not simple. I wish it was. You know, life changes, whether we like it or not. And as I'm pondering this verse and as I chewed on it in my head, I kept thinking, you know, what do I do with that? I'm just going to read those three pieces, give you my thoughts on it, and put a bow on it and we'll be done. What is it, excuse me, what does the Lord require of you? And this is a personal question that all of us have to answer at some point. I read a quote the other day. It was kind of a weird quote, but, you know, it was that one thing that kind of stuck in my head as I was preparing. And I can't remember the gentleman's name that wrote it, but he said, you know, as human beings, we have one thing that's guaranteed, that we're all going to pass. So at some point, we need to think about that, hopefully before it gets here. Don't put this one off. Now, I'm not going to belabor that point because I really think the guts of what this verse says has already been spoken of in your testimonials. And I'm going to apply some of the testimonies as they were given to this verse. First part of the verse says to live justly. You know, that's a really deep concept if you think about it. I mean, that means dealing with brothers and sisters and family members in honest ways, just ways. You know, family members, friends, being someone with integrity and character, someone who has worth and purpose. We want to know what God requires of us? To live justly. You know, in this time of reflection, this is one of those concepts that I hope we take forward. I mean, we understand that relationships are hard. We understand that life is difficult. We understand that choices can fracture and make stuff not good. But we also know that we have a duty and a responsibility to one another as family and friends to speak well and to hold one another accountable and to be transparent and to live a way that will, going forward, leave a legacy that we won't be ashamed of. To live justly is just part of it. The other verse, or the other part of the verse says to love mercy. I had to chew on this one. You know, we all want, you know, and I'll speak from a Christian perspective because I have that title, pastor. We all want God to look at our lives and to deal with us mercifully. You know the difference between mercy and grace? Grace says, you know, welcome and I'm sorry and whatever. Mercy says whatever we've done, we don't have a memory for. So we want God to look into our lives, into our situation, and not remember or assign consequences to actions and behaviors. This verse says that we are to love mercy, not just from the Lord, but to one another. How would our lives change if we figured out how to apply this construct to our families, our children, our spouses, our neighbors? Instead of holding grudges and grievances and unforgiveness and bitterness. What does the Lord require? Justice, mercy. It would radically change our families if we could get our head around it. It really would. I need to move on. I don't want to belabor the point. I'll preach this another day. To walk humbly, I always pause there because the phrase is with. It doesn't say before. It doesn't say behind. It says walk humbly with your Lord or with your God. You know, this idea of humility with God, it would really change a lot how we see the world. And I'm not getting into a heaven and hell. I'm not even going to have an altar call. It ain't going to happen. But I'm going to ask you to make some thoughts and to think about something as you leave here. The idea of walking humbly with your God, taking God seriously, acting in ways that show submission and humility, contriteness. Now, these are not attributes that are lived in culture very good, let alone in relationships in the church. Trust me, I've been a pastor 30 years. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I wish people, not just Christians, people, would get their head around the idea of what it means to understand who God is, the Creator, the Redeemer, the Alpha and the Omega. And that we have a place in the work of the church and in the work of the kingdom. But it doesn't happen when we won't submit to Him as leader and Lord. Walking humbly with the Lord changes a lot how we live and even in our families. Because when we get our vertical relationship correct, it changes our horizontal relationships drastically. We understand more about purpose and worth and value. So what do we do with this? I think going forward, I just want you to remember those three phrases. That concept of living, excuse me, got a catch in my throat. Living justly, loving mercy, and walking humbly. This isn't rocket science stuff. It really isn't. I mean, God intends for his people to model this. But this is not just a Christian construct. This is just what's right in relationships with one another. We don't have to stand on a soapbox and preach it. We just need to model it. We need to figure out what it means to be all of these attributes so that our families are more knitted and more settled. Our relationships bring value and support. And our community is bonded. It's easily said, not so easily done. This is a really key point in time for people. Funerals that are very unplanned. And there's no way to, this is so unplanned, it isn't funny. It's one thing. My dad is in the hospital and he's 78 and he's got his issues, and you kind of know you're going to get that phone call. This isn't that. This is not that. We're kind of forced to look in, and that's okay. Hopefully going forward, if we grab onto these constructs and these ideas, in days to come, relationships are going to change. Lives are going to be impacted. Your family will appreciate it, I guarantee it. Lord, as we think about closing this out, Lord, I know the Bible and I know people and I understand the struggle that we have, and there are choices and consequences. Lord, as I think about our lives and how you see us, Lord, I would just pray that we would draw near to you in this time. We begin to think about things that maybe we got busy in life and we just kind of moved away from it. Life, family, work, hobbies, they all can take us, away from where we should be with you. You want the best for us. You want us to model the best for our families and for our community. Lord, I would just pray a blessing on the Borgen family, on the Shimshek family. Lord, I pray your Holy Spirit would bring comfort in the days to come. Lord, that as they work through this process, and it is a process, and as they struggle with emotions and feelings and thoughts and hopes and dreams, God, that you would just bring someone into their life at the right moment to speak life, to speak encouragement, to be a blessing, to share the burden, and to help them understand there's more to life, and it's not over. I know it's hard, especially when you've lost a mate, especially when you lost a mother, you've lost a sister, a husband, excuse me, her husband. God, I just pray over him, Lord, that there would be a peace, and I know it's hard. I've been married 37 years, and I can't even imagine what he's going through. I just pray a blessing on him. That you bring comfort, and he would see life and his daughters in a new way. God, I just ask that you be before us as we close this part of the service out. And for those that are traveling, that you give us safe traveling mercies as we do the graveside. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Jennie's family, I just want to thank you all for being here and sharing this time together and just showing the support. What an amazing show of support, and I know you all want to be there for the family and We appreciate that, and I know the family appreciates your presence here today. Those of you that are going to be traveling to the cemetery with us, we're going to step to our cars here in a few minutes, and as we travel in procession, just travel as close as safety permits to the car in front of you. Turn on your bright headlights when you get in your vehicle, and of course we'll all join together at the cemetery. Again, thank you all for being here. We're going to begin dismissing from the back rooms and then the back of the chapel, and we're going to give the family a little bit of time, and then if you want to step to your vehicles, we will come out and we'll direct you, and then we'll head to the cemetery. Again, thank you all for being here today. This does conclude our service, and we'll join at the cemetery together. Thank you.